In this follow along, we're going to be doing this sort of like punk lettering that says decline. And the next one we'll be doing this little Misfits follow along. If you enjoy these follow alongs, be sure to subscribe to my YouTube channel and ring that bell for me, as I will be bringing more of them for you. What I like about this design is it's going to be great for beginners. It's organic, so there's going to be a lot of room for forgiveness. However, we still have to be somewhat precise in order to get a clean read. For example, on the CE, you get the idea. We still want to capture the integrity of the organic ends, and we want to capture the integrity of the fine ends as well. To do that, I'm going to be using a CNC Police standard 3-round liner. That's what I feel comfortable using because I can be really accurate with where I deposit the ink. This is going to be subjective, and depending on where you are in your tattoo journey and the capabilities you possess would determine what you feel comfortable with. I encourage you to do what is right for you. If you need to resize this design because it's too big, you can kind of see it's like the size of my pinky around there. If you need to adjust that, please do so, and you can use any needle size you'd like. First things first, let me show you the gear that let me list the gear. I will be leaving my Amazon affiliate and other affiliate links for you in the description below, so you can check out the gear that I'm using on my end, on your end. So CNC Police standard 3-round liner. That's going to go into my MusoToku Mercury M1 tattoo machine. This is going to be the 4.3mm stroke version. Spirit stencil paper for the stencil. I am using Reelskin fake skin. Here's a piece of it. I'm going to be using simple petroleum jelly and dynamic black tattooing ink for this design right here. I'm also going to be using Scotch shop wipes as well. I'm going to run at 5 volts simply because I'm using a smaller needle configuration. If I need to adjust, I will do so and let you know accordingly. Here's an important tip here that I always go by. I am right-handed, and naturally I fall on this side of the design over here versus this side. So I'm going to start backwards. I'm going to start in the area right here and then work my way that way, so that way I don't have my hand going over the stencil here and I don't have to worry about losing any of the stencil here. I want to make sure that I try to capture as much of the organic stencil here as possible, or the organic font here as possible that the stencil is showing me. First things first is I'm going to put a little bit of moisturizer in the area that I'm going to start off tattooing. I don't want to put too much, I don't want to put too little. Too much can clog our needle tip. Too little is not good for multiple reasons. It's a bit more messier that way as well. So what I'm going to do is start right here. Here's my A point. And you can kind of see I just align my hand speed to my voltage as cleanly as I can. And then I'm just going to simply apply this to the best of my ability using this 3-round liner. Why I mentioned a bit ago that this is a good design for beginners is because you don't really have to worry about making mistakes. And if there's anywhere to make a mistake when we are tattooing, it would be within these follow-alongs that I do and within my tattooing workbooks. So if you are making mistakes, don't stress too much about it. Finish the session, come back later on, write down what you don't like about your work, and then we can figure out ways to go ahead and not do those same mistakes again. And this is how you can kind of find that forward motion and progression there. So here I'm going to do the same thing, A to B. The idea is I'm outlining and setting the boundaries here in which I'm not going to go past. So I'm not going to go on the inside of this E once they're set up. Kind of the same rule of thumb applies to all of this stuff out here. So this is a little bit more of like organic, I would say. There's not really any sort of structure or anything like that. Just dashes and whips here. And then here is where we start using those lines again. Using whip motions to get sharp tailored ends. Sharp tapered ends. I want them to taper out and be pointy. And that's how I'm going to go about that. Put some ointment, wipe away. And I'm going to continue working this area here. There we go. So from here I have a choice. I can go ahead and kind of outline everything if I want and then come back in and pack, or I can pack as I go for this specific design, I think that packing as I go would be the most beneficial approach. So that's what I am going to do. And I'm going to do that with the same needle. I'm going to identify my point A, and then I'm going to create small circular motions like so until I reach my point B. There we go. Same thing. Small circular motions. So I'm essentially kind of using these small circular motions going right up to the edge of the E and kind of thickening up the boundary there. It'd be the same thing over here. Small circular motions all the way through. And it may take a little longer with a 3-round liner, but to me that's besides the point. My goal here is set from before I take on the tattoo. My goal is to provide a good quality tattoo that's going to stand the test of time here. And in order to do that, I could only anticipate that I'd be very patient with the process. So each area that I fill out is definitely a small area. And I'm going to have to repeat all of the areas like that, just small circular motions. I don't want to move too quickly because then I'm going to get patchy and consistent results. I don't want to move too slow, I'll cause damage to the skin. So I kind of want to find a good tempo here. And I feel like I kind of found that. But that right there is the idea behind it. That's exactly how I'm going to go about creating this here. And then I'm going to put some ointment, wipe away and see the true results. It's always a little bit nerve-wracking to wipe away and see if there's something that's not fully packed or saturated, but then you kind of start learning that it's actually just a part of the process, and then you become more patient with that. But at first it can definitely be discouraging, but it doesn't mean anything if the majority of our saturation is coming out clean and saturated. So if we kind of have a couple of spots here and there, I feel like that's fine. As we get more seasoned and develop, our packing will also get a lot better. I'm going to dab away. And then I'm going to repeat over here, kind of start bringing it all this way. Now this isn't by any means perfect or anything, so I'm going to stick to that organic sort of structure there. And then back and forth this way. So essentially connecting this inner area right here. Add a little bit of organic movement. Still kind of establishing those boundaries here. I'm going to repeat that throughout the entire design. So really it's just about finding a steady tempo and kind of staying there. And I think the hardest part about most of the tattooing process, besides learning the actual techniques, is remaining at a consistent tempo. Because oftentimes what I experience is I naturally just want to speed up. It's not something that I can help. It's just I kind of, once I've worked so long at a certain tempo that's kind of slow, I just naturally just tend to speed up. I don't really know what that is. I'm not sure if you're the same way. However, that's exactly how I am. So it's taking me a good while, and I'm still working on that, at staying at a consistent tempo and really allowing the needle to deposit exactly the way that I need to. It's not as easy as it may seem, so it's definitely an ongoing learning. Slow burn process for sure. So I'm going to put some ointment. You can see that I was using dots to apply these areas, and I can always go back over if I need to. Using round circular motions, that's completely okay. Now, I wouldn't go straight to overworking skin and just assuming that if you go over more than once, it's going to be overworking skin. Now, it's important to know overworking skin happens after we either apply too many layers or we have incorrect technique. So it's not something that happens right away. It takes a little bit of time for us to overwork the skin. So that's a good thing that's working in our favor when we are just starting out. Don't be so focused on overworking the skin. Also, don't be focused on finding the correct needle depth. I feel like when we just start out, that's really redundant to what we should be focusing on. If I had to give you something to focus on, as a beginner, focus on giving your needle enough time to make its rounds to deposit the ink in a clean, solid, consistent manner. Are you wanting to develop your tattooing skill sets? Now you can practice and develop anytime, any place with an assortment of tattooing workbooks that I've created. With these assorted tattooing workbooks, we can practice our basic lining all the way to advanced lining. We can practice shading, shading placement, dot work, textures, and more. All we are gonna need is a tattoo workbook of mine. We can use a pencil, pen. We can even use a tattoo machine with a ballpoint cartridge to develop our tattooing abilities further. That means that we don't need tattoo ink, we don't need napkins or petroleum jelly to get to practicing. Simply open one of my tattooing workbooks and get going. It really is that easy. You can get your hands on one of my developmental tattooing assorted workbooks by simply clicking the links in my description or in the pinned comment section below, or navigating on over to Amazon.com, typing in Daniel Yuck, and you'll see all of the assorted tattoo workbooks that I've created come up. If you have an Amazon account, be sure to follow my Amazon author page, as well, as I would greatly appreciate your support. Should you have any questions at all, drop them in the comment section down below. I will do my best to assist you in the best possible direction. With that being said, let's get right back into this video. That's where we should be putting our focus too. So we want to make sure that when we do deposit the ink, that it is clean and it is solid, it's consistent, and it's saturated. We want to move at a steady pace, and we want to make sure that we keep the integrity of the design each and every tattoo we choose to take on. All of these little variables are important because this is what's going to give our tattoos that wow factor, and that wow factor is what's going to create our reputation. So you can kind of see I'm just going to establish the boundaries all the way through using very intent, consistent motions here. All the way through. There you go. I'm gonna get a little bit more ink, and then I'm gonna do this area right here. Bring it in this way, then kind of connect it. And the same thing, we're gonna fill all of that in. And we're just gonna kind of continue with this steady pace going all the way around here. There we go. That's how I'm going to add all those little details like so. when the areas get tighter and I don't have enough room to make circular motions, like when I can't go right and left because it's too tight, I go up and down, which means I use dot work to saturate. So for example, the point of this area right here is way too small for me to actually do small round circular motions. So therefore, I'm going to supplement that and then just do dot work, and I'm going to get the exact same level of saturation if I apply the layers correctly. And then as it opens up a little bit more, I'm able to go back to the traditional way of using small circular motions should I choose to do so. But going back to needle depth, when we first start out, it's genuinely not something that we need to focus on. That's something that comes natural. So what we should focus on is giving our needle enough time to make enough rounds to deposit the ink in a clean, consistent manner. If we go into tattooing focused on needle depth, then we're going to try to anticipate how deep we should be going, and that's not what we want to do. We want to focus on learning the mechanics and paying attention to what our gear actually does. So that's the best place to start, and then I'm just going to continue all the way. So same thing right here, small circular motions. You're going to notice that once it's aligned, I have a boundary, but the boundary is still going to get worked on by creating these small circular motions next to it, which is going to thicken up that line for me, making it easier to not go outside those bounds. That's basically the point of doing that. You can kind of see it now. I have all of this area that's more easier to work with. It's harder to make mistakes when I start thickening up these boundaries here. There we go. I'm going to get a little bit of ointment, place it on, see if there's anything that I need to work on. If not, I'm going to go ahead and kind of continue doing this at the exact same pace. I'm going to go back to this end right here, bring this around. Like so. And then kind of continue. Now, from here, what I can do is let's say if I'm still a beginner and I'm worried about losing the stencil, it is 110% acceptable to kind of go and outline everything and then fill everything in. That's also 110% acceptable, and there's nothing wrong with that. So I'm going to do a little bit of organic movement there. I'm going to do the same thing with the remaining part of the design, and then I can go back in and fill everything in. Go back over and fill everything in. So let's do the L. You can see that my hand speed to my voltage is still matching that of each other, so that way I can accomplish these clean, smooth lines. I have other videos showing you what it looks like when we don't follow these fundamentals. You can check those out on my channel. They're under a couple of names. Like if you go to my channel, the video section, type in lines, you'll see a bunch of different lining videos come up where I give you a lot of different tips and tricks on lining specific. So I'm going to do this part right here. I'm just going to kind of continue. Doing all of these areas over here. When it's really tight like that, I'll just knock it out right here and kind of just keep going. So far so great. I'm loving the way that this is reading here. I'm going to do the same thing over here. slow and steady pace yields the cleanest results for me. I'm going to continue outlining the rest of the design here. This one's actually really fun. It's not really stressful, so I feel like this one's really good for beginners. It's a really cool design as well. I'm going to outline this area. And I'm using the stencil as somewhat of a guide. I'm following the majority of it, but I'm adding a little bit of my own taste into some areas that I feel can add a little bit, or I feel I could add a little bit more detail. I'm adding to those areas. Forgive me, it's a bit hard to tattoo and talk at the same time. There we go. I'm gonna get a little bit of ointment here. I'm not almost done with the tattoo, as I still need to fill in everything. However, in terms of kind of solidifying this, not solidifying, but outlining the structure, and I'm not going to lose it anymore, that's pretty much almost there. But you're going to notice, even though I am almost there, I'm still going to keep the same tempo that I'm using. And I'm not going to rush the process. I'm not going to pick up the pace and start going faster because I feel like I can, or because I want to get done. I'm going to stay at the same tempo. Same thing right here. And then from here, I'm going to put some ointment, wipe away. I'm going to go back for some more ink so that way I have adequate ink flow. And then I'm going to continue to apply these areas out here and the remaining part of this design, which is going to be this D area right here. There we go. I'm gonna put some ointment here, wipe away, go back for some more ink, get this E boundarized, basically outline this area, and then everything can be filled in. Now there's nothing wrong necessarily with moving to a bigger needle. We can do that if we want, and there's also nothing wrong with taking a little bit longer and packing with a smaller needle. It's going to be up to you. If you don't feel comfortable packing with a smaller needle, then you can use a smaller needle to kind of boundarize everything. And then from there, switch on over to a larger needle for the larger areas. I feel like that's acceptable if you would like to do that. Now for me, I don't mind either or. I'm not really against either or. I think that if I use a 3-round liner, it's just going to require a little bit more patience. In retrospect, it may take about maybe 10 more minutes versus using a slightly larger needle configuration. Also though, it's important to note with a 3-round liner, since it's so tight and fine, what that means is I can be really accurate with where I'm depositing ink. So that's also going to make for a better read. So if I have to move slower to use this needle, I'm going to do so because I have to run at a lower voltage. It also minimizes any unwanted mess ups that I could have potentially have made. And it gives me more time to work on the skin. So taking a little bit longer is definitely one of my stronger suits. There we go. I'm gonna go ahead and wipe away. I'm gonna go back for some more ink, and then I'm gonna begin filling in the rest of everything that's here, and then just kind of continue to call it a session. So basically I'm at a point now where I'm no longer gonna lose any of the stencil. Everything has been deposited into the skin here. So all of the boundaries have been established. From here, it's about packing everything in cleanly. Now, I don't necessarily want to switch to a larger needle. The reason is because if you take a look, for example, at the area that I'm working right here, you're going to notice that it has a bunch of organic like bends and just a sort of organic look to it. And I'm not going to be able to stay true to that and capture that if I go bigger on the needle. Let me go back for some more ink there. I'm going to wipe away. There we go. I'm going to make sure I get a new part of my napkin here, wipe away, and I'm going to continue. I'm paying attention. I'm paying attention to if there's any like patchiness or anything like that. If there is, I'll just simply go back over it with dot work like so, or I can go ahead and just keep using the same technique. That's really going to be up to you, however you want to approach that. Neither is wrong. Small circular motions. I could make bigger motions, however, that's going to lead to patchiness. I have to do small areas at a time for optimal saturation, and this little design requires optimal saturation in these areas. So taking our time is going to be crucial. You really want to take your time. Doesn't matter what needle size we're using or what tattoo we're doing. I do not recommend rushing the process, but I am yielding really clean, consistent results, so I'm happy with that. I'm going to go back for some more ink. There we go. Small circular motions. Wipe away. Is there any patchiness going on? If there is, then I'll have to adjust accordingly. So same thing right here. Now let's say you didn't have this much patience as a beginner. What would you do? So the next best thing that I would do is I would use a mag, and I would get the smallest mag that I had, and I would simply apply all of that with a mag, because everything here could essentially be applied with a mag, and I'm going to show you that. For that, I'm going to be using this Mass Pro. This is going to be a standard, I'm sorry, 00 9-round mag. So I'm going to be using a tighter 9-round mag here. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to be running at 5 volts still. And then I'm just going to be packing pretty much the exact same way, but just from like right to left, left to right. You get the idea. So for example, let me wipe away some of the excess ointment. Let me go, since I'm not worried about losing the stencil, I can kind of go back to this area over here. And I'm going to use a series of circular motions like this. Now, the trick for the mag is instead of packing this way straight across, you can do that, it works, but I'm going to tilt it. Instead of going this way, I'm going to just tilt my mag this way and then bring it down like so. Just a little subtle tip there, so I'm going to kind of pack with a slant. All the way through from A to B. I'm going to go ahead and add a little bit of ointment here. There we go. I'm going to go back and get some more ink for adequate ink flow. I'm going to do small circular motions from point A to B. All the way through. I'm going to go ahead and get some ointment and wipe away. I feel like it's important that we keep really doing that and really pay attention to these areas here. If there's any patchiness, patch it up as you're going. So that looks fantastic. I'm going to continue to do the rest. So the C has a bit of a curvature to it, so that's going to be a little tricky. Just going to be mindful of my A and B, starting at endpoints, and then kind of adjust my mag like so, as you see here, so I can pack the ink like so. I'm going to dab away ointment, so that's good right there. I'm going to go back for some more ink so that way I have adequate ink flow. It's a little too much ink flow there. There we go. That's exactly how I'm going to do the C. I'm just basically using the mag to my advantage, and it's working with me, not against me here. So from here, what I'm going to do is pretty much the same thing over here to this portion of this, or this area next to the C rather. There we go. I'm going to get a little bit of ointment, or actually a generous amount here rather, and apply it, see where we are at, and I'm going to repeat this with the remaining parts here. And using this mag, it does cut down a lot of time, because you can kind of see I can get these areas in a few back and forth circular motions. You can kind of see that it covers more ground too, versus the 3-round liner we were using a moment ago. I'm going to go back for some more ink. Can't exhaust that ink flow. It's got to be right. There we go. I'm going to do the same thing right here. So here's my A point. I'm going to make my way on over to my B point. Small circular motions, they really do add up. There we go. Just add a little bit of ointment, see where we are at, and that's looking great. I'm going to go back for some more ink. I'm going to rearrange my napkin here and finish applying the rest of these areas. Just like that. Same thing right here. There we go. So from here, I just have this other little area to pack in, and I'm not gonna begin to rush. You're gonna notice I'm gonna assess everything here and really take my time to make sure that I'm packing this to the best of my ability. That's really important, because if the client agreed to this design, and they're gonna expect this integrity when we're done applying it. So when they look in the mirror or when they look at it, they should basically have the tattoo that they agreed upon and no surprises or anything different. There we go. And then from here, and there we go. I'm going to take a look at this by wiping some ointment, or putting some ointment and wiping away. And if there's any patchiness or anything like that, I'm going to go ahead and kind of fix all that here, and then that'll be it for this tattoo. It'll be safe to call this one complete. Now again, this one was more of a beginner friendly one, more basic, more easy, wasn't too difficult at all, so I do hope that you all can find value from it. Let me clean it up, and then let me give you a different view so you can see my final results here. So this right here is the final result. This is what I got. I do feel like it came out nice and clean. I don't really feel like it's patchy or inconsistent at all. So I'm happy with the results that I got. Now, if you're not happy with the results that you got, I encourage you to remain calm, cool, and collected. Do this follow along in about a day or so. So, you know, relax a day, be easy. Take down some notes of what you didn't like about it. Come back in a day or so, and then you will see some dramatic, or you will see gradual improvements over time, and then you will see how dramatic the difference is from the first time to your maybe third or fourth attempt. We do make improvements, and we just have to go through the progress. You're going to hear me say this a lot in my follow-alongs, that there's no way around progress but through it. Tattooing is a slow burn process that requires ongoing learning, and it's just something that we have to do. And I do talk a lot about that in my tattooing book called the Fundamental Tattoo Book, which teaches you how to tattoo. That book is available on my Amazon author page, which I will be leaving a pinned comment for you in the comment section, so that way you can check out that book. It is a full in-depth book that teaches you how to tattoo, in case you were interested. So I do hope that you could find some value within this follow along. I do appreciate you following along with me. If you have any questions at all, I encourage you to drop a comment down below. I will do my best to assist you in the best possible direction. Please, before you go, don't forget to subscribe to my YouTube channel and ring that bell, as I am going to be bringing more videos like this for you all. Don't forget to like this video and give it a thumbs up, as I would greatly appreciate your support. Thank you for watching. I appreciate you. Have a great day.